Commence the meeting. As we do with all of our board meetings, we start with a pledge to the flag. The flag, I think, is over here behind the banner. We know it's there. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Barney?
All right. Now, traditionally, we go around the room introducing ourselves, and I'm Barney McHenry, and on my right is
Scott Keller.
Lydia Biscup, representing State Senator Sue Serino.
Paul Sparrow, the director of the FDR Library.
Larry Kirk, superintendent.
and our genial host, and the place looks wonderful.
Thank you.
Kristen Brown, Greenway Conservancy.
Bob Elliott, council board member.
Betsy Jacks, Executive Director, Thomas Cole National Historic Site.
Owen Rafter, Commissioner of Planning Development, Dutchess County, representing County Executive Molinaro.
Good morning, Tom Watt, Assistant Regional Director, Taconic State Park Region.
Meg Downey, I'm the Dutchess County representative on the Greenway Communities Council, and here is Sarah Olson.
Thank you for introducing me. I'm Sarah
Welcome back,
Olson.
Sarah.
Kevin Burke, Acting Chair, Greenway Conservancy.
Aileen Rohr, Town Supervisor at Hyde Park.
Andy Beers, Hudson River Valley Greenway and Empire State Trail Director.
Frank Bergman, Hudson River Boat Club Association.
Rich Stein, Chief of Staff for Assembly Member D.D. Barrett.
Jane McLaughlin, Treasurer, the Greenway Conservancy.
Good morning, I'm Jay Mather with the New York State Department of State.
Jennifer O'Donnell, Greenway Conservancy.
Fran Dunwell, Department of Environmental Conservation. Linda Vonderheide, Russell County Community Council member.
Linda Aldrich, council member and former Red Hook Town historian.
Jason Wolfanger, New York
Recently returned from where? Where'd you go?
Where did I go? Well, I was in Portugal recently, that's all you need to know.
Jason Wolfanger, New York State Department of Transportation.
Bob Bursey, Executive Director of the Fisher Center at Bard College.
Karen Unger, Assistant Vice President, Office of Institutional Support, Bard College.
Paul Glesta, Hudson River Greenway, working with Andy on the Empire State Trail.
Sarah Wasberg Johnson, Director of Education, Hudson River Maritime Museum. Jennifer Carlquist, Director, Boscobel House and Gardens.
Heather Lobner, Executive Director, Palisades Parks Conservancy.
Glenn Gadali, Barton and LaJudas Engineering.
Valerie Majinski, Port Jervis Community Development Agency, here on behalf of the City of Port Jervis.
Joan Burrows of the John Burroughs Association in the 200-acre Nature Sanctuary.
Peter Bernard, Urban Designer for Scenic Hudson.
Ashley Stever, the Chief Museum Educator at the FASD Museum of Firefighting.
Sean Heller, Museum Educator, FAS Museum Firefighting.
Mary Elizabeth Stewart, Co-Founder and Executive Director with Underground Railroad History Project.
Sharon Robinson, Board Member of the Underground History Project.
Kayla Altland, Deputy Director for Administration at Delaware and Hudson Canal Historical Society.
And I'm Dan Jeanson with the Greenway.
All right. Now, this morning we're going to start with a thought or two about the person whom we have to thank we want to thank for starting the Greenway, the late Maurice Hinchy. Now, but for Maurice, we would be on this earth someplace doing something, but Maurice is the one who got us all together for the Greenway. It was his notion. He was an assemblyman at that time. He and Steve Saland, Steve was a Republican and still is, and Maurice was born a Democrat, I think. And they came up with the notion of a Greenway. And George Pataki was in the assembly at that time, and believe it or not, Maurice and George worked together to get it to happen. So that's been a while back, Don.
Yes, it has.
And that you had long, dark curls then, as I remember. We're still here, but alas, Maurice is not. He did wondrous things. He was cantankerous. He fought with Pataki, but he always thought of the Greenway and the Hudson. And so, if you will, can we have a moment of silence to remember a great man, Maurice Hinchy? See, I told you I'd make it brief. So now we could go on to introduce our guests. And Kevin, would you?
Yeah, I was also going to say, we had a number of trees fall this year. Maurice Hinchy was one of them, but just in the last couple of weeks, we lost two rather large figures in the valley. One was the mayor of Newburgh, Judy Kennedy, and she passed away on the morning of April 15th, Sunday. And that very morning, we also lost, quite unexpectedly, Frank Scartados, the state assemblyman, who represented Newburgh and Poughkeepsie and was a real champion for the valley from Marlborough. And so we think of them as well today and thank them and hope to carry on their great works, both for Newburgh and the valley.
Kevin, I would add Dick Jenrette's name to that list.
Yeah,
a leading National Historic Preservationist who labored long and hard and very effectively on behalf of Montgomery Place and his own wonderful Edgewater, which now will become yet another wonderful heritage tourist site.
So true. Barney and I were just talking about it on the train this morning. If you didn't read his obituary in the New York Times this week, it's well worth it. It's quite an extensive article, and you see just all the many great things he did here and in the South and many other places. So we think of them all today.
It said in the paper, didn't it, Winnie, that Edgewater was his favorite place. So he had five of these great houses around. A lot of people have 5 children, 5 wives, but he had 5 houses.
They were like his children.
Yeah, and no children.
I was down in Charleston last week, and again, it was just outstanding seeing one of the houses.
Yeah, it really is. It's right on the Battery. It actually belonged to, it goes way back because there's a cannonball on the roof if you ever go down to see it. But it was a Guggenheim house for a while. And when Dick Jenrette bought it, he actually bought it twice. But anyway, he was a great man and much missed. And I think many of the people in this room, well, Winnie, you knew him really well, right?
Oh, since 1970 when he bought the place, great neighbor. 2 things that were not in the obituary, I was surprised to see. He had 2 honors have been conferred on him, but really the highest that are available in this country, I think, in historic preservation. He was chairman of the National Trust for Historic Preservation, and he was chairman of the President's Advisory Council on Historic Preservation, which is more of a regulatory function. I think he was justifiably proud of that.
Yeah.
Well, we'll miss him, but we've got you, Winnie, and that's something. Now, look, why don't we go right into having our welcoming and ask, get Lydia first, I guess, right? Yes?
Yes.
Lydia, you're here.
I am here, yes, sir.
Okay, there you are, okay. And you're speaking for Sue.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Just going to
All right,
squeeze
just
by you
go
here.
right past me here, I'm sorry.
Good morning, everyone. I am honored to represent State Senator Sue Serino of the 41st Senate District. She is in Albany.
just to highlight a few things that she wanted me to communicate to you in terms of your interest here in this organization. Senate Bill S556 extended the protection of the Greenway. She carried this bill with Assemblymember Cahill, so we were very happy about that for another 5 years. With the help of Assemblymember Cahill, but also with the guidance and the support of Riverkeeper and Scenic Hudson. Also, Senate Bill 5197B, the Anchorage Bill, to have more of a say in terms of potential decisions that might be made in terms of anchorage placement. And another very strong advocate that worked with Senator Serino on this was Assemblymember Dee Dee Barrett. So you have two very, very strong advocates in terms of protecting what goes on. Just the other day, we met with the Sierra Club. They came to our district office and met with staff to talk about their concerns about the environment and legislation that Senator Serino might want to consider. So we'll get that information to her. And just the other day, we met with a public hearing with Congressman Faso. I'm sure all of you may not be aware of Amtrak looking to put fencing up along the Hudson. We are very, very concerned, number one, about the aesthetic impact of something like that, and also accessibility. So I thank you so much, and everything that is discussed today will be communicated verbatim to Senator Serino, and I thank you so much for inviting us to this event. Thank you.
We also want to welcome Rich and ask you what news you bring us from Assemblyman Dee Dee Barrett.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting our office. The Assembly member, as well as the Senator, as you know, are up in Albany, post-budget in the legislative session. And just to also hit on a few points from our office's perspective, as Lydia also mentioned, was the Amtrak issue hitting up past through Germantown into Columbia County, and that's also something that we're very concerned about. We were actually at a rally this past weekend with a multitude of supporters on this issue. We'll be following it very closely. We also want to commend the Senator's office for working with us on the Anchorage's issue, which was a huge victory, and we're also going to be continuing monitoring that situation as the Anchorage issue evolves over time. And so one of the other issues that we've been working on is carbon sequestration and our carbon farming legislation, which I know I brought up the last time we were here, I believe in October. And so that bill is moving forward, and we're excited about the prospects of that as we move towards the end of the legislative session. But the Assembly member also wanted just to wish everybody to have a really great Greenway meeting, and as well as any updates from this meeting will be brought up to the Assembly member, and further thoughts will be shared moving forward. So thank you very much.
Well, next we would like to hear from Eileen. And we've got all the locals, and why aren't there more people here waiting for money?
They must have missed the memo.
I like the yellow.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. Pleasure to be here as always, and thank you to the Greenway for honoring us with your presence on a regular basis. And it's wonderful to always touch base with our partners, so many of which are sitting at this table or in the audience. And I like to think that Hyde Park is a good representative of the vision that was put forth by Senator Saland and Assembly Member Maurice Hinchey. You know, it's so refreshing from a town supervisor's perspective to actually take a moment and pause and think about the bigger vision, because so often we're just down in the nitty-gritty, and so it's refreshing to think that we have this vision that we can work towards, and I'm happy to say that at the local level we are doing that, again, especially with the help of our partners, DOT, the county government, and just taking those notions, those visions and those concepts out of the Greenway and applying them to our local development is really providing a guiding principle for the redevelopment of Hyde Park as we seek to become a more pedestrian-oriented and visually attractive community. And it's interesting for me to see how these concepts, which really spoke to me many years ago and inspired me to run for local government, are actually being verified in economic data where walkable communities are actually more desirable, and you're seeing that in their values, their real estate values and their tourism. And so, with the Greenway and all our partners, we strive to engage those and create a better community in Hyde Park. So I applaud the Greenway and everyone who's involved, and thank you for this opportunity for Hyde Park to be part of it.
Thank you.
We also want to acknowledge our hosts and ask them to say a few words each. We've got Larry Turk, who is the superintendent of the sites here. And I just wanted to note for both of you, I saw that this week the rankings came out for among historians who are our best presidents. And once again, FDR is in the top 3 with Lincoln and Washington. So we're happy to see that streak continuing, and I don't think that will change anytime soon. Let's hope not anyway. Okay. Larry, you want to say a few words?
I'll just use my drill sergeant voice. We're always excited to have partners come and use these wonderful facilities that Sarah Olson was part of helping design. So does our heart good to see you guys here using these facilities. Welcome.
I would just like to say that this year, our Family Fun Day, which is June 30th, is going to have an environmental theme. And the Park Service has come on as our partner this year. They're going to be offering some programming on the home garden and other things that are being done around here. We're going to have the annual Roosevelt Hudson Valley Vision Award is going to be given to one of the local environmental groups. And the program this year, starting, like I said, on June 30th, is the beginning of a year of programming around environmental issues and the Roosevelt environmental legacy. I invite any and all of you to join us on June 30th if you want to set up a table promoting your organization or the environmental work that you do in the Valley. We'd love to talk to you about it. We think this is one of the underappreciated aspects of the Roosevelt legacy, so we'll be doing online exhibits and programming around this subject. So if you have any interest in joining with us, I hope you'll let me know. And as usual, we're so happy to have you here. The Greenway is a project that both Franklin and Eleanor Roosevelt would have strongly supported. And I can only say that I think Roosevelt should be above Lincoln and Washington, but we'll have that debate at a later date. Thank you.
That's all our hosts, and now, Kevin, we can launch into our complicated and, oh, there they are. Okay. Now let me see. Who's next? Yeah, all right. Yes. Let me introduce.
So Dan Jensen is our project coordinator, and he's worked on a number of projects over the years, including the National Heritage Area website, the second edition of the Heritage Site Guidebook, and he's following that up with a brand new initiative, the Hudson River Train Tour app, which he is going to describe to you today, so I don't have to. He can do it better than I can. Okay, thank you, Scott. So in the interest of time, I'm going to stand here at the screen so I can control everything. I've been working on this train tour app now for, it seems like, the beginning of my time at the Greenway, and it almost has been. This app was something that was dreamed up by our former executive director, Mark, back in 2013. He had unsuccessful CFA applications 3 years in a row, and I think by 2016 he was getting sick of it, so he threw it at me and said, good luck. He also conveniently left us in November of that year, so. So, December of that year, fourth time was a charm, and we got a Market New York grant for $100,000, matching that with $100,000 in NHA funds. Oh, $50,000. I wish I had $100,000 to build this app. And so that's what we've been working on. That was the background. This past year, we had 10 audio stories developed by Sound and Story Project of the Hudson Valley. Eileen McAdams and her husband there, they're a one-stop shop. They've recorded some great audio stories for this app, and I'm going to play one of them at the end. Last summer, we had an RFP out for the actual app, and we awarded that contract to OnCell Systems. They're out of Rochester. They've been spending the whole winter building the app, the back, like the wireframe and all that, and I'm going to show you that in a second. We've had our partners at the Hudson River Maritime Museum. Sarah's over there. Them and Scenic Hudson, they've been contributing some photos, text, and then we've supplemented all that with text and photos that we had in-house from the guidebook and our website. And then just recently, in January, we put out an RFP for an advertising component of this project, and we awarded that contract in February to BBG&G. They're out of Campbell Hall, so local. And they came with good recommendations from Hudson Valley Tourism, Dutchess Tourism, and several others that we've worked with in the past. And that media campaign is going to include a mix of social media, videos, and rack cards and train station posters. Now I'm going to show you the actual app. This is like a test version. This is how it would appear. You guys can't see what I can see. Okay. So this is how the app would appear on your phone. This is the home page. From the home page, you can click on how to use the app. There's an about page with all of information on the Greenway, the NHA, about our partners. I just wanted to show you, when you click on themes, we've got the three NHA main themes: freedom and dignity, nature and culture, and corridor of commerce. We've also got a what's out the window theme, which shows you sites that will pop up while you're riding the train. There's a list here, and it goes north to south, and then there's a map that you can use if you're also cruising that way. All of the sites in that theme, what's out the window, will pop up automatically on your phone as you're passing down the train line. It'll give you a couple seconds to look at it, see what's out the window, and if you want to learn more about it, you just click on the little notification, and it pops up with, I want to pick one that has some good photos. There's 150 sites in here. About 90 of them are what's out the window. So you click on a site, you've got a little bit of text. If they've got a current phone number and a website, we direct them there if you want to learn more. And then great photos here. A lot easier to use that on the phone. Yeah. So back to the theme map, the Voices of the Hudson, those are where all the audio stories are stored. This is really my favorite part. Right now, you'll get a notification as you're coming up close to one, and Scott and I have worked it out so that when a notification comes up, it doesn't interfere with another story, and it doesn't interfere with a train station, like an Amtrak station. So you won't miss any notifications from the conductor. So you have the theme map here. Right now we have 10 audio stories, and we'd like to supplement these and get a few more in by the end of the year. We've got some more money in the budget to do that, hopefully. So we'll be putting out an RFP for that. These audio stories, by mid-June, they'll be autoplay. So when you're on the app and you're passing close to one of them, it'll just automatically start playing. Right now it's not a feature, but it will be in place by June, mid-June, OnCell tells us. So I wanted to finish up just by playing the shortest story in the interest of time here. and but hopefully it's a good one for you guys.
Ahikani-tuk. Once in winter times, wise ones spoke of a sleeping giant. So long had the giant slumbered against his enormous body, there formed a lake. The giant in his dreams invited animals to live along his side. They came from the scurrying squirrel to the trumpeting mastodon. The giant in his dreams invited people to come as well. They found their baskets always filled with nuts, grains, healing herbs, animal skins, and more whenever they visited the land by the giant and his lake. Long the giant slept. The people expressed their gratitude by coming out, gazing upon the giant, and singing only were words of thanks. And long the giant slept. Then it happened. Change came to the giant. Trees grew from around his legs. Grass covered his body. The three sisters, also the giant's body, alongside of the people's wigwams. Long the giant slept. Now the people looked upon the giant as just a hill, and forgot to give their thanks or share their stories. The giant's platform broke. Crack! Opening up a hole in the sky, he shook off the rocks and trees and animals and three sisters and wigwams, and stood up. His massive wings let go of the lake. It scoured a deep path in an ancient bed, creating a river. But it was no ordinary river. People called it Ahikani, the river that flows both ways. And even unto this day, known by a different name, the Hudson, it continues to flow both ways, pushed back and forth by the great ocean. This great river, Ahikani, flows both ways.
Okay, so that was Jonathan Kruk, who's a Hudson Valley storyteller. Just wanted to say that the app features interviews from several organizations that are in this room, including Fran Dunwell, who was interviewed for a Storm King story. That one's my personal favorite, so good job on that one, Fran. The Underground Railroad History Project is featured in a audio story. Mary Liz's husband was interviewed for that. DEC's Estuary program is featured, and yep, that's on Sturgeon. Yep, that's Fran again. Two heads there, two hats. But I don't think anybody else in the room was part of it, but we are going to have a mid-May launch. May 15th is our release date. And then, I think that's about it. Yeah, we're going to let everybody know, that's for sure. We're spending some money to let everybody know, so we will. So if anybody has any questions, I can answer those.
Will people be wearing earphones? I could imagine if there were 30 people in a coach car and this are being played and others are hoping to sleep or read the editorial page of the Times or something, it'd be a little disturbing.
Yes, we want people to use their headphones. This is meant to supplement the NPS, the Trails and Rails program, which only has weekend volunteers on certain trains. So this is really meant to supplement that for people who are riding it every day. So certainly headphones.
Personally, I think you shouldn't play it on your headphone. We want everyone on the train to receive this information, and maybe we can pipe it right through the system, where they say, Minecliff, next stop, we can pump it right through.
They would get off and hype your trail.
It would be even better if they were slightly out of sync.
Considering what we had to go through to get Amtrak to put posters in the stations, I don't think they're going to let us do that. Anybody else?
We also have a second presentation today, and I'm personally very excited about this one. We have Kaya Kuhl, who's visiting us all the way from Columbia University. She's the director of the Community Design and Hudson Valley Initiative there. and I think has an interesting story to tell, and I'm looking forward to hearing it. So, Kaya, want to join us?
Thank you. I don't know exactly where it is.
Okay. Hello, everybody, and thank you for giving me the time to speak and present our initiative. So, as Scott mentioned, I'm the director of the Hudson Valley Initiative, only for a few months. Is when I started at the Graduate School of Architecture, Planning, and Preservation. That's what the GSAPP stands for. We call it GSAP. And the initiative is an attempt by the school to really sort of reinforce our long-time engagement with the region to the north of us, and to apply research and design to community engagement, to public space and social justice in the towns and villages in the Hudson Valley, to regional ecological systems and economic opportunities. It was started by the Urban Design Program in the Graduate School of Architecture, but architecture, planning, preservation are all programs that are housed in the school and that are part of this initiative as well. We take great pride that we take our students out of the beautiful building on the left, which is Avery Hall, our home, into communities so that they learn from real-world experiences. And what we've seen in the years that we've been doing this, that there are limits to that as it pertains to our classroom work. So we do design studios and seminars that are based on different issues that communities face. And the initiative is really an attempt to work beyond the classroom. So we might, at the end of the semester, the great learning experience for a student might not necessarily be exactly what a community needs. And so with the initiative, there's really an attempt to go beyond that and to kind of follow up on great creative ideas and turn them into a number of different things. Community design projects where we engage often with local communities on sometimes small interventions, sometimes sort of open space plans for a municipality or riverfront. That also means doing sort of more longer-term research, and for this we're interested in looking at the region as a whole and really see a university as a connector between the different stakeholders in the region. And then in a number of places we're working on really short-term implementations and interventions of student ideas, and I'll show you the image on the left is an installation that students did now almost 3 years ago in Newburgh, and we have a few in the works that will, be installed in Poughkeepsie in this summer. So this is just sort of a timeline to kind of show you what we've done in green in this current academic year. In the fall, our urban design studio, which is about 50 students and 8 teachers engaged in Poughkeepsie in particular. In addition to that, we had one seminar focusing on ecological infrastructure, looking at several places along the Hudson River, all the way from Hudson down to Newburgh and Piermont. And then this current spring semester, which finishes in about a week, we have 2 architecture studios that are engaged in places in the Hudson Valley, and a historic preservation studio that is working on heritage tourism in Newburgh. We have upcoming this summer a program that we're very excited about. It's the idea of a community design fellowship where we will have one community design fellow working with the city of Newburgh and helping the effort to create an open space plan together with Scenic Hudson and the city of Newburgh. And these small-scale interventions in Poughkeepsie called the Urban Urge Prize, where, I'll just jump into this. So this is sort of the idea that I want to plant into everyone's mind also. If you have a need for a student or recent graduate in the design field to look at a particular issue. This could be a Greenway project that's sort of just in the beginning stages, that could be assistance with grant applications or advocacy for a project. These community design fellows, the idea is that they work with communities and in communities as much as possible to enable community-driven projects, and they're facilitated by us, so whenever possible, also funded by us, and they receive design guidance from us, meaning myself and the faculty at Columbia, which are all professional architects, landscape architects, and urban planners. Here's an example, just to, one example of what this can look like, but also sort of an example of the time it takes. So, and this is an example actually in New York City. About 3 years ago, we worked with a group of teenagers in a neighborhood called Brownsville in Brooklyn, and they wanted a community center and a garden in their housing development because they didn't have a place to meet and have programs in the afternoon. So in the summer, the students came up with ideas, and then the following fall and spring, a faculty member together with a student engaged in sort of schematic design and construction drawings, and then the following fall is when this picture was taken, when the center was actually opened. And so just to sort of add on to this, what we encounter often when we work with communities is that they have funding for some portion of it. In this case, they had funding for the building of the space, but they didn't have funding for the design and didn't actually even realize until they engaged in it that there's a lot from having sort of the initial image to having everything on site and what to tell the contractor. So that was something that we were able to help with. I mentioned earlier one thing that we're hoping to do this summer, and we're still in conversation of how this will play out, but is in Newburgh's open space plan to focus on the small vacant lots in the neighborhoods. And so to kind of develop a toolbox of what could be done depending on how much community engagement or how much funding is available to turn these vacant lots into resources. And then just briefly mention sort of on the end of larger regional research, we were joined recently by a colleague in the urban planning program from California who has a lot of knowledge and experience in rethinking school lunch and really bringing more local foods into schools. And so this is something where we think there's an interest in the Hudson Valley. So we're in the early stages of defining a concept for what this larger research could look like. And if you know anyone who could be a partner in this, I'd be happy to hear it, because this is something where we really care about bringing our design expertise into these systems, helping to visualize what the challenges are and how to overcome them, both on the scale of distribution and farming, and as well as on the smaller scale of missing kitchen equipment and the cafeteria layout that might inhibit the increasing of locally grown food in schools. And so just 2 quick images of this Urban Urge Prize that we gave to 2 groups of students this winter as seed funding to actually design and build these 2 installations. The one on the right actually fits very nicely into the storytelling of the train. The Whisper Wall is an idea to install a kind of temporary installation. It will be showcased on June 15th as part of the Teen Film Festival in Poughkeepsie, and it will contain little devices that tell you stories that teens recorded of how they see their city, their home, or issues that they care about. And it will be an ongoing sort of project together with the Artifact and media organization in Poughkeepsie to collect stories of youth. The one on the left is still in developing stages. This is an idea to promote solar power in public spaces, partnering with the Center for Family Partnership in Poughkeepsie to kind of install on their site a sitting area that features solar panels as shading devices and as a way of introducing solar power to residents, also as a way of introducing sitting back to benches back to Poughkeepsie. And this is just a quick image of who we are, and to show that it is really an initiative across the different programs at the school. So I myself am in the, embedded in the urban design program, which is a post-professional degree at the Graduate School of Architecture. So all our students are already professional architects or landscape architects and some planners. And then Kate Orff, the director of the urban design program, is a landscape architect. We have architects on the team, historic preservationists, and urban planners as well. And I think that's my last slide. I'm happy to answer questions now, or also I will stick around after the meeting a little bit, since I missed, unfortunately, the breakfast to have smaller conversations. Thank you.
Winnie, you always have a question.
I've got one actually.
I think Kevin's going to ask my question.
No, I'm not. I wanted to, you can read those minds. I'm from Newburgh, and I wanted to see if you could speak more specifically to the Newburgh case study and how you're finding community engagement there, and kind of your early impressions of Newburgh and how it's going.
So we haven't actually started on that particular project, and I know the first public meeting is tomorrow. I will be there to kind of learn a little bit more about the city's plans for community engagement. We have, however, worked with students in Newburgh in 2014 and 15, and a big part of our education is community engagement. So one of the images that you saw earlier from students having a table in Poughkeepsie, we did that also in Newburgh, and so through that work over 2 years, we've established a number of connections. The students themselves did follow-up projects together with local organizations.
Yes, the subject of good eating in our schools. I'm delighted to be able to report once again, and if I didn't, I know Larry Turk would, that we have a garden that's been newly created, recreated, I should say, here on this historic site, the President's Mother's Great Fruit and Vegetable Garden. It will be producing its first full crop this autumn, and I know that Larry is already lining up distribution arrangements so that this good food is going to get into the right hands, whether they're food pantries in Poughkeepsie or the public schools. And I can't think of anything that would give greater pleasure to the Roosevelts and to all who care about their legacy, that this place will be producing good nutrition for the young of the Hudson Valley.
Wonderful. That's great to hear.
So if you can go into a little bit more of the historic preservation work that you do, and how you integrate students, if students are integrated into the program, what sort of work that they do. And the reason that I ask is the Assembly member has an initiative on historic trades that we're working with Dutchess BOCES, Dutchess County, and an organization called Historic Corps based out of Colorado. But it's a very interesting thing, especially in the Hudson Valley, with so many historic structures that need rehabilitation. So if you can go into a little bit more of the work and the integration that Columbia helps to push forward.
Yeah, so far we've done 2 historic preservation studios. One was based in Poughkeepsie, and if you search for Hudson Valley Initiative on our website, you'll find a report of that. And so this current studio engaged in Newburgh, I will see the final results next week, but they're very interested in some ideas for, Newburgh has so many historic structures to how can that be utilized also to reinvigorate the economy, to train people to, in the building trades of rehabilitation. There are other ideas within that studio of how to just, encourage tourism as a way to revitalize some of the areas and economy, the economy of Newburgh. If you have any particular project that you think would be, a good project to tackle for us or for a student, one semester project, that would be lovely, and I will connect you with the professors that are teaching that.
So we actually have one that we're working on right now. It's actually soon to be finished, but Quiet Cove, actually, just down the road from here. Students are redoing the slate roofs, the wood sash windows, the glass, and they're making a shed into a kayak rental station. So it's a pretty incredible project that high school students and some college students get to do. So, I mean, the whole sort of, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but it's creating, it's like going back to the future in a way, creating the jobs that are going to be needed in a dying trade, and to inspire younger people who live here, who can work here, raise a family here, and work on something that's inspiring, that's going to create jobs, bring tourists here. So any way that we could potentially coordinate would be great, and just the whole initiative, from a 30,000-foot view is an incredibly worthwhile initiative.
Thank you. Yeah, maybe we can continue this conversation. It sounds very interesting to make connections.
Where's your budget come from?
Very good question. So currently, we're funded by the school. However, this is a 2-year Columbia. However, this is a 2-year guaranteed funding stream, and so my job is also to find additional grant funding, as well as some of these projects may be that we can just partner on grant applications to organizations or to the state. And so it's kind of a mixed funding.
In theory, you're nonpartisan.
Nonprofit, I think is the word, right? Yeah, universities are nonprofit, and so are we.
I was going to ask you one last question, which is, given the places that you've lived and worked and studied, what are your early impressions of the Hudson Valley?
Oh, are you referring to the fact that I'm from Germany and grew up very close to the Rhine River, and that there are a lot of similarities, of course, that people point out. I think the Hudson River is, in a way, much more majestic and more diverse. I do miss the cuteness of the Rhine River Valley towns. I think that as an urban designer, I think we have some work to do here to bring all these beautiful towns back to that original beauty.
Actually, I have a question. So I'm the supervisor of the town of Hyde Park, where you are today, and it seems like a lot of the initiatives have been geared towards cities, but the Hudson Valley is really populated by smaller communities such as ours, and I'm wondering if there are opportunities for communities like ours to engage you in projects that we're working on really redesign of our existing town centers. And I'd love to, have a conversation with someone, because we're engaging in a project called the Downtown Initiative, where we are trying to create the infrastructure that we need within our town. We don't currently have any commercial sewer districts, so that is one component of it. The other component is a pedestrian component, and we have multiple grants that we're working on to try to bring these together. So if we could have some interaction with someone from Columbia, I think it could really be a nice opportunity for us to be a model for other communities that are seeking the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
We'd love to do that.
Okay, great.
I have two places for you to potentially partner with. One is the Poughkeepsie Farm Project, which is right here at Vassar College, right down the road. And there's also the Hudson Valley Farm Hub, founded by Peter Buffett. And one of their goals is to bring more sustainable food into our public places. So when your grant is looking for some extra help, the Farm Hub might be a good place to go.
Yeah, and I should also mention that we have sort of a relationship with an organization called the Hudson Valley Design Lab, which is based in Poughkeepsie. It's an initiative by Mass Design Group, which is a non-for-profit architecture firm, founded by Michael Murphy, who was born in Poughkeepsie, or raised in Poughkeepsie. And the staff teaches at Columbia, and so we have a close relationship with them. And I'm mentioning this because they are currently working with the Farm Hub and helping the Farm Hub, and so we have connections to that already. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, that closes the presentation portion of the meeting, and now we move into the actual business meeting. Wanted to just call that to order and ask if anyone has any questions about the agenda as it stands. Any questions that came up for you in your review of the agenda? Any comments? Yes.
When will we be approving the 2 telephone meetings that we had of the Conservancy? They're not on today's agenda.
They'll be at the next Conservancy-only meeting.
Which is in May?
And so when are those minutes presented to both boards?
No, they're usually, for the AHEC trail, they're just going to the Conservancy Board because that's a Conservancy-only meeting.
And then in the June 6th meeting, won't there be a general discussion of that?
There will be. We're going to have a secret training after the meeting on that, for the Conservancy Board members, yes. That is still on the agenda.
Okay, it just feels to me that it's such a momentous project that I don't see a reason not to include those minutes and those developments in our joint meeting materials.
Noted.
Kevin? One other point. We heard from Lydia and Rich this morning about an issue that I know is also occupying a deal of attention at Scenic Hudson, and that is this business of closing off the river at grade crossings. And just to remind those of you whose memory perhaps doesn't go back as far as mine, Governor Pataki was just terrific on this very subject with respect to Metro North's corridor from Poughkeepsie down to the city, and really pushing that state agency to make it easier for people to get to the Hudson River. We must not allow Amtrak and CSX to continue efforts to close off the Hudson north of Poughkeepsie. And it seems to me appropriate. And it's not just grade crossings. I can tell you what will come next. It's deteriorating publicly owned and privately owned overhead bridges. And they may have very good reasons for worrying about safety, both of the train passengers and pedestrians and vehicles crossing at grade crossings. Nevertheless, this is an important issue for, I think, all of us in the Hudson Valley, and particularly the Greenway, and I would suggest that we explore in the next meeting or two framing a resolution in support of the efforts that the legislators are already enunciating to see that the State Transportation Department does all it can to influence the decisions in the right direction. Thanks.
No, well said, Wint.
We've actually had conversations with both DEC and Department of State about this issue. Jamie, do you want to, DOS is the lead on the state response. Do you want to?
We are reviewing the proposal for consistency with the state's coastal management program based on a number of other coastal policies there, and so certainly can't comment on it, but public comment is open, and so we're certainly willing to accept any public comments coming from anybody interested. And there's certainly no shortage of interest in this project.
And Rich, why don't you comment?
Yeah, so is there any update on holding, and I know that Amtrak is maybe open to the idea after Sunday's rally of having a public hearing. Is there any update on?
I certainly can't speak to that. I don't know personally. I'm not reviewing the project, and I certainly can't speak for Amtrak.
Right, understood. But if the state's going to have a public hearing or anything like that, we would just want to.
Nope.
Yeah.
Not as of right now.
Not as of right now. Okay. Thank you.
Congressman Grasso has one, but we haven't heard anything on the state yet, so I'm sure we should chat.
Yes, we should.
And Scott, too, if you're plugged in with that conversation, you can keep us abreast, because it's an important point, and we want to make sure those connections are made.
Yes.
Great.
Jamie and Fran and I are speaking.
Okay. Any other comments on the agenda or board member comments on the agenda? Okay. Moving to our next item, we need to approve past minutes. The one on deck here is the October 18th meeting, which was held here. That's the combined meeting of the Hudson River Valley Greenway Communities Council and the Conservancy and the Heritage Conservancy. I hope everyone had a chance to review those minutes. Were there any questions about those minutes? Any corrections? If not, I'd like to call for a motion to accept them. Okay, one. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, very well. And we also have to approve the minutes of the March 13th Grants Committee call. Was there? Okay. So that was held by phone on March 13th. We need to formalize those decisions before we can move forward. So again, I'd like to call for a motion on that. Bob? Okay, second. Wonderful. All in favor on the Grants Committee?
Aye.
Any conflicts or any abstentions? Okay. Wonderful. All right, now we're going to move to the Greenway Conservancy portion of the meeting. So obviously, I'd like to call that to order and turn it over to Scott, actually to Andy. Yep, Andy Beers is here, who's kind of rolling up his sleeves every day on the Empire State Trail, and I think we're all looking forward to your update and then questions from our board.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again today. Happy to give a brief update today. I'm not going to give you, many of you seen multiple times my Empire State Trail presentation, so I'm not doing that again today. Our map is in the back. I think everyone's familiar with it, but the Empire State Trail will be a 750-mile bicycling and pedestrian trail crossing New York State with 3 major legs, a Hudson Valley leg, finishing the Erie Canalway Trail, and a Champlain Valley leg. I'm just going to give a brief update on progress. The Greenway, as you know, is the entity that is charged with overseeing and facilitating the development of the trail. We are the little engine that could. Paul Glesta and I are the 2 full-time staff working on this with support from Scott and the rest of the Greenway staff. But more importantly, as part of that, there are a total of 5 state agencies that are working on this. In addition to the Greenway, we have New York State Canal Corporation, New York State DOT, we have New York State Parks, and Metro North as well, all doing projects. And we have about 10 or so local government projects where the Greenway is providing funding to local governments for trail construction as well. All 60 projects, we have 60 projects, construction projects, large and small, to complete this work. They're all scoped. The engineering, the relevant agencies have hired all their engineers. They're well into design, environmental permitting. So we're moving along. And the first trail construction projects are now starting to roll out. On March 23rd, so about a month ago, I participated, Mike Hine, the Ulster County Executive, and the town supervisor for the town of Lloyd had a formal groundbreaking on a project they're doing in Ulster County to extend the Hudson Valley Rail Trail further to the east. And right behind that, Jason from DOT is the project manager on DOT is picking up to build a long Route 299, and they'll be breaking ground on that this calendar year as well, bringing the rail trail all the way into New Paltz. The State Parks has 2 major projects now under construction in the Erie Canalway Trail section that will build or improve 18 miles of new trail, one in the Amsterdam area and the other running east from Syracuse through DeWitt, Chittenango, and Canastota. And then Canal Corporation's first groundbreakings are underway as well, and we're tentatively headed out to western New York to the Amherst Amherst area for a formal groundbreaking as well. So we're starting to see some of the initial projects roll out, obviously very exciting. One of the major projects we also have started to really dig in on is we have our Empire State Trail logo, and we're going to be physically signing the route from one end to the other with logos and directional arrows so you can follow the trail, as well as promoting the trail. The signage helps promote that it exists. Our aspiration is to become a household name, the Empire State Trail, but we're not there yet. So the signage is both wayfinding but also essentially promotion. We're really learning what a big job it is to sign on the ground, 750 miles. Our first order of 1,900 signs has been fabricated, was shipped on Monday, and we're waiting for news that it's actually arrived in our Albany warehouse. Perhaps today it'll arrive. We are working with local partners, including Dutchess County and Owen, the Hudson Valley Rail Trail, Canal Corp. You're going to start to see the first set of signs being installed this summer, and that'll be a 2-year effort. Our major project as the Greenway is the Albany Hudson Electric Trail, the 35-mile rail trail that will run from the city of Rensselaer in Rensselaer County down to the city of Hudson in Columbia County. We are going to be holding June 6th is the next in-person board meeting for the entire board, and at the conclusion of that board meeting, we're going to have an informal working session for anyone who's interested from both boards, from members that are here, to really dig into the details of the project, answer your questions and give you a kind of I've made several presentations, but more of a kind of informal working session. So that'll be on June 6th. We've completed our 20th public meeting on the process. We've been out in front of town boards and local governments and other local groups since last August. Our engineering design is well underway. We've issued our draft environmental impact statement, held a public hearing on that. The end of the public comment period on the DEIS is May 8th. We have a draft trail maintenance plan out. Everything's on schedule. It's a very aggressive schedule, but we're still on it. The goal is to bid the project late fall 2018, around the November-December timeframe, for construction starting in spring of 2019 and a 2-year construction cycle, so the trail would be open to the public in late fall 2020. We do have, as the lead agency under seeker on our environmental impact statement process, there are many, many prescribed steps in that process, and the Conservancy Board has been very indulging with us. We've had, call a series of both in-person meetings and phone calls when we need the board to take certain steps to approve the acceptance of the DEIS and authorize the completion of the final environmental impact statement. So we do have two, for Conservancy Board members, you'll be getting further notice on this. We do have 2 additional calls scheduled, I believe, for May 8th and July 27th. Correct? Okay, we're still finalizing that, but we will get, but I guess we'll get notice out to you on the final dates as we sequence everything. Again, we appreciate the Conservancy Board members coming on because we do need a quorum to take those official steps. And then at our June 6th meeting, the in-person board will also be taking some official steps there as well related to the impact statement process. Two other things. Another major rail trail project under development here in the Hudson Valley is the Metro North project to build the rail trail from Hopewell Junction in Dutchess County to Brewster in Putnam County. That will connect to the Dutchess Rail Trail and connect, south to the Putnam Trailway. We originally called that project the Beacon Line Rail Trail. That's what the Metro North owns. It's an inactive line, and that's what they called it for the last 20 years, but we've actually changed the name. We're now calling it the Maybrook Trailway for 2 reasons. Number one, although it's been called the Beacon Line for the last 20 years, for nearly a century before that, it was called the Maybrook Line, and so that's more historically accurate. But perhaps more importantly, the Beacon Line Trail does not go to Beacon, which seems to be confusing a few people. And so rather than having to explain that for the next 50 years, because it stops at Hopewell Junction, the old rail line continued to Beacon, but our rail trail goes along the Dutchess Rail Trail up to Poughkeepsie. We're avoiding that complication. So that project also, Metro North is well along in their preliminary engineering design, and expect to be bidding as a design-build project, that rail trail, later this calendar year. They're on schedule as well. Finally, a project that's not technically Empire State Trail, but very relevant, is the Skywalk project, which will, create a very pedestrian and bicycle-friendly connection between Olana and the Thomas Cole House in Catskill. Many of you are familiar with that project. The Bridge Authority has completed the middle section of it. They've rehabilitated their sidewalk on the Rip Van Winkle Bridge. It's now a much more pleasant walking experience. But right now, you get to both ends of the bridge, and you're suddenly there in traffic on, what's that, Route 23, right? Yeah. 23? 23. And then, of course, you come on the east side of the bridge to what I call the famous spirograph intersection, which is nerve-wracking if you're driving, and even worse if you're walking or riding your bike. And so, again, Jason's very busy. DOT has a major new project to fix that, to replace that old spirograph intersection with a much more compact roundabout, and to build pedestrian and bicycle trails that will make it safe for pedestrians to go back and forth from Olana to the Thomas Cole House in Catskill. And that's kind of an east-west route. Our Empire State Trail will be going north-south, and so we've been working very closely with the DOT design team to make sure everything dovetails correctly, so we'll have a bicycle-safe way for bicyclists to the Olana entrance and continuing up to Hudson. So that project, the governor has sort of announced that project is to be either complete or substantially complete by a date in early November. And so DOT is really sprinting to get that project so they can get it under construction. But it's going to be a fabulous, the synergy of creating that pedestrian and bicycle link east-west, and the Empire State Trail will be a year later going north-south. There's going to be a great synergy of the beauty of the Hudson River and the historic sites and everything happening there. So very, very exciting to see the state commitment of funding for that.
Andy, I hope those dreadful floodlights will be history. They illuminate the heavens. I mean, that's that big intersection.
At that intersection?
Oh, go there.
Yeah, well, the nice thing about that, in the roundabout, which is, people have various opinions on roundabouts, but once they get built, they are much safer and faster and much more compact. The roundabout will fit, it's going to take up, I don't know, about a sixth of the size of the intersection, all those crazy lanes that are there today, and in fact, they're going to repurpose part of it within the existing footprint. DOT is going to be developing a parking lot, modest, maybe 15 cars or so, for people that want to park, whether it's Empire State Trail or they want to walk across to Thomas Cole, because there's not a lot of parking on Alana, of course, and it's a little... So anyway, so all that's going to... The floodlights, I don't know. That's a good... Jason, do you know? Has there been a discussion of what lighting will be there when the project is completed?
We're still in conversation with the Bridge Authority over the higher lighting, but the Cobra head lighting that's out there will be replaced with period lighting.
So period lighting, and of course now we have dark skies legislation in New York, so I'm sure whatever lighting will be there will not be the industrial lighting that's there today. It will actually illuminate the roadway and not the heavens. So that, I'm going to make that commitment even though I have no idea if it's true, but it's going to happen, Vince. Yeah, we did at the last meeting, right? But we did, as you know, one of the very first Empire State Trail project that was completed last fall was a modest but important symbolic step. The town of New Paltz rehabilitated the Wallkill Valley, the rail trail bridge that had been closed to the public, and the Greenway funded $200,000 of the $300,000 of that project through Empire State Trail funding. So that's...
I just have to add a little anecdote to that. When Andy came down to help us celebrate that momentous occasion, there was a lot of sand on the bridge, and not everybody understood why this bridge that was 30 feet above the Wallkill would have sand on it. And it's because if you want to be scared out of your wits, you can see this movie called A Quiet Place, and that bridge is the star of the show. And they covered it with sand to make it really quiet.
Wow.
That's your little inside Hollywood.
All right. That completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Moving on to the New York State budget update for the Conservancy, and don't go anywhere. The Conservancy is receiving the same $166,000 that we have in the past for operations, but thanks to Andy's efforts, we are receiving $500,000 for trail grants this year, which is a doubling of what we did. Thank you, Andy. So we will be, thanks to Beth's good efforts before she lost her voice, we actually are able to announce that we are opening the trail grants applications. Maximum value this year for construction projects is $75,000. 10% of the $500,000, $50,000 will be reserved for water trail applications if we get them, otherwise they'll go to land trails. So there we go. And in that vein, we actually have a trail designation today. The Albany County Helderberg Hudson Rail Trail, 9 miles starting in Albany, proceeding through Bethlehem, New Scotland, and ending in Voorheesville. That's the only thing we need a motion on. And that's for the seeker determination and designation of the trail.
Okay, so this will be for a Conservancy board member. We need a motion and a second to accept this trail designation. Okay, Sarah Olson, and what a second? Jennifer, great. All in favor of the designation? Aye. Aye, any opposed? Great, it's official.
Excellent. So, the word anchorages has been tossed around a couple of times today. Back in November, I was invited to participate in 2 ports and waterway safety assessments that the Coast Guard put on in response to the January 2016 industry letter asking to designate 43 official anchorages in 7 areas of the Hudson. This being the Hudson Valley, when they put out the proposed rulemaking, they got 10,200 comments. About 9,700 of them were opposed. This is more comments than the Coast Guard has ever received on any issue anywhere in the country. So they decided to pull that plan and go through the safety assessment protocol, and they released that in March of this year and had three major recommendations: creating a Hudson River Safety Committee, increasing recreational boating safety information, and clarifying and removing ambiguity from the current regulations. One of the things that came out is that the existing anchorage regulations on the Hudson are not well written. Some of the terms they use are not well defined, and the Coast Guard own that completely. So in January of this year, they actually put together a meeting of interested stakeholders for the safety committee, and then they developed, the members there, or the people who were invited, developed a steering committee composed of Hudson River pilots, recreational boaters, Ports Tug and Barge Association, terminal operators, spill response operators, shipping agents, communities and waterfront development representatives, environmental community, and human-powered boaters. And I was asked to serve as the human-powered boating representative. And at the last meeting, I was elected vice chair of the group. So we will be meeting again in June as a steering committee, and then in September, we're going to hold a much larger full group meeting to update on where we are. Anchorages have not come up yet. They will come up, but at this point, the group has come up with bylaws and we're all getting to know each other and building the trust that you need in this kind of group. There's a variety of state stakeholders, Department of State, DEC are both there. All the federal players are in the room, including the Army Corps of Engineers. So we're optimistic this is going to go places. So, and that is it. Yes, Andy.
Yeah, thank you, Scott, for that great description. And just for the benefit of everyone's knowledge, I think it's also important to note, while we did talk about the incredible work done by Assemblywoman Barrett and Senator Serino on the state legislation to set up tanker avoidance zones, which is fabulous, there's also been important work on the federal front in Congress by U.S. Rep. Nita Lowey and Sean Patrick Maloney. They have actually put a provision in the current fiscal year budget to prevent the Coast Guard from spending any funds to develop anchorages in this fiscal year. So this PASA process is a really unique opportunity to make sure that we get it right, that we really fully understand the issues before us before we move forward. I'll also mention Scenic Hudson is working on a oil spill risk analysis, which we'll be sharing publicly over the summer. And we're very excited to contribute that information to the discussion so we can, again, fully understand the potential impacts if a proposal comes back in the future.
Thanks, Andy. That's it for the Conservancy. Chairman?
Okay. Do you remember when we used to fight about getting $5,000 grant? We've got money now that we never thought we would ever get. And I think it is, in many ways, a tribute to you, Scott, because of the way you have efficiently run the grants program. We try to get money both sides of the river, spread it out, but you've done it right, or at least none of us have been...
At least have you fooled.
Yeah. So I'm delighted that it's going well. Now I'd like to call the council meeting to order, and we will have Scott, we're giving out money, and we go right to that. And then we'll get one resolution for all of them.
Okay.
And I think you probably got some grantees there.
Yep. Well, I want to update you on the council budget from the state. $185,000 for operations and $136,000 for grants, which is unchanged from the prior year, which is good news. And we do have 4 grants to give today. 2 are community grants and 2 are compact grants. The first grant is to the town of Greenville for $10,000. They requested $10,000. The grants committee recommends $10,000 for a project to fulfill the town's comprehensive plan vision by rehabilitating the North Barn and Vanderbilt Park as a community gathering space. And I don't believe we have anybody here from Greenville, correct? Okay. Second project is for the town of Saratoga for the design and construction of a trailhead connecting US Route 4 with the old Champlain Canal Trail / Empire State Trail. It'll be designed to mirror the previously built trailhead on Route 4 across from the Sword Surrender site. Is Tom Wood here? No. Okay. Well,
Scott, you might point out that this trail has now been named for the surrender.
yes, it is the Sword Surrender Trail. And
It
it,
used to be called that, but
that will be the local name for it, and they're very proud of it.
keep going.
All right. The City of Port Jervis is going to identify gaps and deficiencies in its zoning code, which hasn't been comprehensively updated since 2002. They have requested 10,000, and the committee is recommending 10,000. And backing up to Saratoga, I think I forgot to say, they also requested 10,000, and the committee also recommends 10,000. And is Valerie McGinsky here from Port Jervis? Hi. If you'd like to say a word?
I would like to say thank you, first of all, for the consideration. Mayor Decker sends his regards and thanks. He's busy today working his day job as a teacher in the local middle school. And for those who are unfamiliar about Port Jervis, we are located on the banks of the Delaware and Neversink rivers at the juncture of New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. Our comprehensive plan and land use codes haven't been updated since the late 80s, and we're currently working on a $100,000 project to fix that. We've got a number of revitalization projects going on. Our downtown just opened its very first brewery, and all of a sudden our downtown has a lot more attention than it used to. But that goes in conjunction with our almost 40 miles of hiking and biking trails that we've installed on our watershed park. And in addition to that, we are putting a whitewater kayak park in the Delaware River. The permits for that are being submitted to the Army Corps of Engineers as we speak, and we hope to hear some progress on them before the summer. So this grant will add to the $100,000 that are currently allocated to this project and will enable us to really focus and do a good job with regards to our land use codes, water runoff, et cetera, et cetera. So again, I thank you very much on behalf of the City of Port Jervis.
Thank you. The last grant is for the Village of Pauling to update their comprehensive plan. And that pretty much says it all. They have requested 10,000. The committee is also recommending 10,000 for this one.
Scott?
Yes.
This zoning gap analysis sounds like something every town in New York State could use as a model, because I know we're all struggling with updating master plans and comprehensive plans. Is there a way when this piece could be sort of in our planning toolbook so that local zoning committees and stuff can take a look at how to proceed on something like that?
We always get an electronic version of whatever is done, and then we always report in our newsletter on what have been done, and we will definitely couch that towards, here's a model if you're interested.
Great, thanks.
Sir?
So we've got 4 grants for $40,000. I'd like to have a motion and a second. Motion, all right, second, okay, good. Thank you. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Done, Scott.
All right.
Thank you.
As long as you're standing up, do you want to open the National Heritage Area meeting?
Yeah, okay. I now call to order the National Heritage meeting. And the first order of business in the National Heritage meeting is to, Scott, for you to, okay, well, we go right into the grants, I guess, right?
Yes.
Okay. Is anybody here from Bard? Leon? No. All right.
Let me describe it real quickly. Bard has applied for $5,000, and the committee is recommending that for the Stage at Montgomery Place, a public performing arts initiative. And Bob Bruzy, correct?
Yes.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, sure. No, it's my pleasure to be here, and thank you in advance for your consideration. On behalf of Bard College and President Leon Botstein, we thank you for all of the extraordinary work that's happening on behalf of our region. In brief, the Fisher Center for the Performing Arts at Bard College is a 100,000 square foot Frank Gehry designed performing arts center that we do about 200 events a year and bring 50,000 visitors to the region and generate more than $10 million in local economic activity. We're located in the town of Red Hook in Dutchess County. And this project is to create a linkage between the Fisher Center, which is a heritage landmark, and Montgomery Place, of which, as you probably know, Bard is now the owner and the steward. So to make Montgomery Place available in a very public way, and then also to address issues of accessibility to the arts in our region, we're bringing the Fisher Center and Montgomery Place together with this project, which is a pilot initiative to present a series of performances in the fall of this year that will be free and available for the public to come and experience Montgomery Place, learn about its natural and human history, as well as experiencing the kind of world-class arts that we regularly present at the Fisher Center. So thank you very much again for your consideration and interest.
That's very encouraging, because there were a number of us, and I'd say I would be included in that group, and I know that Winthrop would be a steersman, is that we were concerned about how Bard would treat this enormously important historic site. And it would appear that so far, so well. And congratulations.
Thank you.
There's I can't do basketball.
Right.
So you talk about it.
Very well. The next grant is for Basketball's Landscapes and Gardens Tour for the Basketball House and Gardens. They requested $4,972. The committee is recommending $4,000 for their Landmarks Tour to engage visitors with stories about their extraordinary site by providing audio amplifiers so people can hear the guides better when they have larger groups. Jennifer Carlquist is here.
Thank you so much, Scott, and thanks to all of you on the Greenway board and everyone here. Basketball is very proud to be a heritage site on the list, and everyone knows our site as a beautiful setting, but it is so much more, and we're very excited to be able to share that with growing and increasingly diverse audiences through this tour. This Landscape and Landmarks Tour is our first official tour that's new since 1961. And although we are very luckily experiencing growth in our house museum tours, we understand and are ready to meet the challenge of serving a much broader audience and a more diverse audience on the grounds, sharing the exciting stories of preservation. These are historic preservation through our architecture. We are, of course, the building that was saved and resurrected, through environmental preservation, of course, because we overlook Storm King Mountain and tell that story very effectively. And cultural preservation. Our setting was inspiration, much like the Thomas Cole site, of many, many Hudson River School artists of the past and of today. So we're thrilled to be able to share these stories through our new Landscape and Landmarks tours every Saturday in season from May through October. People can gather. It's a drop-in, pay-what-you-wish experience to really listen to storytellers share their love of our site. Winty Aldrich is recorded from several years ago on an audio tour. Mr. McHenry. We even have 3 wonderful hours of which we've edited and compressed of various historians like Jim Johnson and Pete Seeker, including music. So we're really thrilled to be able to share this with this new tour. Thank you so much for your consideration. We look forward to welcoming all of you at Basketball.
Thank you, and I'm taking, of course, no position on basketball because I am the chair, but I will say that the best news that we've had in the Hudson Valley just spoke. She's been, anyway, okay, keep going.
All right.
D&H.
The next grant is for the Delaware and Hudson Canal Historical Society for improving access to 5 Locks Walk. They requested $4,850, and that's what the Grants Committee is recommending. The purpose of the project is to move the trail away from private property and to buy a trail counter and quantify use, and also to do a brochure and a branding strategy. Kayla Altland from the Society is here. Kayla?
Thank you so much for considering our grant proposal. We're very excited about how this can fit into the larger work that's happening at Delaware and Hudson Canal Historical Society. Through the help of Open State Institute and the New York State Office for Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation, we've been able to purchase a tavern and a house that was on the canal. That's going to be our new museum, hopefully opening within the next year or two. And so we also have a half-mile trail that goes along the towpath of the canal. And currently the entrance to that trail is on private land. There's an easement there. But with the purchase of the canal house, we want to move the entrance to the trail over to our side of the canal to be able to provide better signage eventually to where the entrance to that is, but also really connect this very important resource to our new museum and this new place through redesign and get a better understanding of who is using the trail, when they're using the trail, because we want to better embed ourselves in the community and the greater trail initiative that's happening in the Hudson Valley. So we appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you. The next grant is to the FASD Museum of Firefighting for their marketing initiative. They requested $5,000. The committee is recommending $5,000 to create a marketing plan for the largest fire museum in the world. They are transitioning into an interactive museum, and since we started giving them grants, they may argue, admissions have tripled. Ashley Seaver is here.
Thank you, guys. I would like to thank you on behalf of the board and of the museum staff. We're excited. Unfortunately, in the past, we haven't had a lot of marketing done, and we have tripled, so on behalf of you guys, thank you. So now we want to get a plan together as we have exciting news. The museum is expanding. We are officially allowed to say that we're adding 50,000 square feet, which is doubling our museum size. So with that expansion, obviously, we'd like to increase our marketing to hopefully triple our attendance. So again, we'd like to thank you guys very much.
All right. The next one is for the Hudson River Maritime Museum for the Hudson River Lighthouse Coalition. They requested $11,200. The committee is recommending $5,400 for reviving the Hudson River Lighthouse Coalition with a joint website that any one of the lighthouses can update, a rack card, and a brochure booklet. And Sarah Rosberg-Johnson is here.
Hi, thank you so much for the opportunity to apply for grants like this. The Hudson River Maritime Museum is applying on behalf of 5 partner organizations, which we're hoping to expand to include all 7 Hudson River lighthouses and the Statue of Liberty, which is technically a lighthouse. So we are partnering with the Socrates Lighthouse. The Maritime Museum operates the Rondat Lighthouse, the Esopus Meadows Lighthouse, Stony Point, and the now Sleepy Hollow, formerly Tarrytown Lighthouse. So we have been having meetings with all these folks. Our primary purpose is to develop a comprehensive website, not only sharing tourism information for all the lighthouses, but also being a resource for historical information. There's not really a good, accurate, well-researched source of information about all the Hudson River lighthouses, and the Maritime Museum's goal is to include all the lost lighthouses on the Hudson River as well. And it's not official yet, but I just want to announce that we've been invited to produce an Images of America book on Hudson River lighthouses, which is something that we're going to be working on. So thank you very much.
Thank you. The next grant is for John Burroughs Association with Scenic Hudson for the Slab Sides Getaway Experience and Entrance Signs Project. They requested $8,000. The committee is recommending $5,000. They need the entrance signs to increase visitorship because right now you could drive right by and not even know you went by it. Joan Burroughs is here.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Scott. And Greenway, we really, really appreciate this. This is going to help us so much. We appreciate not only Greenway's support of the association, but the John Burroughs Black Creek Trail, which this is part, and you're currently supporting the town of Lloyd with signs and town of Esopus with an ecological survey. And these signs were designed some years ago and by Rob Davis, and they're extraordinary. You know his work, the twig style rustic cedar, and so that will set the tone as you go into this pristine nature sanctuary and go up to Slab Sides and see where this extraordinarily influential nature writer lived and worked and entertained. But I want to just remind everybody about the John Burroughs Black Creek Trail. It's 11 miles. It connects to the, the organizing of this and the planning took years, but it's led by Scenic Hudson, and we have a terrific steering committee that includes Walkway of the Hudson, business, historical, and environmental groups from both the town of Lloyd and the town of Esopus. And it connects to the Walkway of the Hudson and the Empire State Trail. And we heard earlier that rail trail segment is being completed, so it'll run up to New Paltz. And it's designed as a bike, paddle, hike trail that will start basically at the intersection with the Empire State Trail and go along Black Creek, which is an extraordinary estuary, and end up at Scenic Hudson's Black Creek Preserve at the mouth of the Hudson. And when it's all finished, we are going to have a mini triathlon and of bike, paddle, hike, and so you're all going to be invited. But we really, really appreciate your continued support. It means so much to us.
Thank you, Joan. Black Creek is actually one of the very few places where you can find trout and spawning andromedous fish in the same location. The next one is for Palisades Park Conservancy for Stony Point State Park, public access to history, education, and scenic viewpoints to restore stairs at this National Heritage Area site to allow visitors back into closed areas where it's not currently safe to go.
Heather Loebner.
Heather, yes, thank you, Heather.
Yes.
And I am a member of that board, so, recruiting.
So, thank you on behalf of our board of directors of the Conservancy, but also of our partnership with the Commission of the Palisades Interstate Park System for this grant consideration. This is a really important site. It actually contains one of those lighthouses that was mentioned earlier. It is actually the first of 14 lighthouses constructed on the Hudson River. And the staircases will be so integral to helping people access both the beautiful vistas, but also the interpretive panels and the complete grounds of this site. So thank you very much.
Thank you. The next grant is for the Putnam History Museum for the West Point Foundry Bicentennial Exhibit. They requested $5,000, and the committee is recommending $2,500 for expansion of a permanent West Point Foundry exhibition that was funded by a previous Heritage Development grant in honor of their 200th anniversary. I don't believe we have anybody here from the Putnam History Museum. Is that correct? Excellent. Then I'll move right on to the next one.
While you're looking for that, the foundry, when it was going, was the largest foundry of making cannon in the world. And it is credited by some people, and if Jim Johnson were here, we would say, James, tell him about that gun. Which
It's a great industrial site. I guess I don't need this. If you look at the production of the Parrott guns, Parrott rifles alone, it really made an important contribution to the winning of the Civil War. And if you look at all the industrial things that it had done in terms of an iron cutter boat ship, the first locomotive, DeWitt Clinton, I mean, amazing contributions to the corridor of commerce, which we celebrate, sir.
Right. The next grant is for the St. Agnes Cemetery in Albany. For their visitor enhancement program, they requested $5,000. We are providing, the committee is recommending $5,000 for an electronic kiosk to help guide visitors when no staff is on hand. Weekends and evenings, this is when most people visit. So, is there anyone here from St. Agnes? No.
A living person.
The next grant is for Thomas Cole Historic House in the footsteps of the Hudson River School, finding inspiration in the landscape. This is to provide guided walking tours to the Hudson River painter sites, which is a program that we've previously helped fund to develop a website to allow people to visit the sites that the Hudson River School painters went to and painted, and now they're going to bring people to those sites and they will not only have a guide, but they will also have an interpreter who will tell them about it. And Betsy, you can do this better than I can.
Thanks. This is a project that started before I came to the Thomas Schoolhouse, so this started in 2002-ish with a local school teacher who mapped the places that were nearby where you can see the view that's in a famous Hudson River School painting by Cole, Church, Durand, etc. And the program's grown and grown. It now encompasses 22 sites throughout the Hudson Valley, all the way from Westchester, all the way up to Albany. And so this latest grant enables us to have a series of guided hikes, which, as Scott said, will include not only the licensed guide, which we're required to have, but also an expert. So each hike will have a different theme and a different expert to take people to these sites. So we're thrilled to launch this program. Thank you so much.
I'm thrilled to see it. I think it's great. The next project is for the Underground Railroad History Project of the Capital Region for their Seeking Sanctuary exhibit of a timeline of the abolitionist movement. And we have Mary Liz Stewart and Mary Robinson here. Who's going to speak?
Just Mary Liz Stewart. I'm not sure who, Sharon. Sorry, our board member who's here. Did you want to say that? Okay. Well, first of all, as others have done, I certainly would like to express thanks on behalf of Underground Railroad History Project for awarding of this grant. It's a very exciting step for us. As you may know, the Stephen and Harriet Myers Residence, which is an award-winning documented Underground Railroad site in the city of Albany, is the centerpiece, sort of the central initiative of the organization. There are many other things, other initiatives in which we engage, but this one really has become the center and the heartbeat of the organization. And so this grant is very important for us as we move forward in our own growth and development, in that we will be using the Stephen and Harriet Myers Residence as the site for this exhibit. The centerpiece of that exhibit is a timeline mural that will be designed and painted by some teens who are part of the Young Abolitionist Teen Scholars Institute that we host every summer, and they will be working in collaboration with a professional artist to design and implement this timeline mural. And corresponding with that, we have a series of 6 public programs we're organizing that will be set up across a year, in which we will invite refugees and immigrants who live in the capital region to facilitate public conversations about their experiences, their impacts, their ways in which community members can become more knowledgeable about the experience of our refugees and immigrants, and how they might further support those people in those circumstances. And certainly as we develop our timeline, it will reflect both seekers of sanctuary and providers of sanctuary up and down the Hudson Valley, from colonial times through contemporary times. And for us, this is particularly relevant because as the way in which we interpret Underground Railroad history, it's not just about a time past, but rather it is about a movement, a civil rights movement that has very clear connections past to present. And so we look upon our abolitionists as providers of sanctuary, and we look upon freedom seekers, those people who had escaped enslavement, as seekers of sanctuary. So drawing those lines of connection through this exhibit is, as I say, a very exciting step, and we really appreciate both the vote of confidence and the financial contribution that will help us get this started, and in turn leverage additional funding. And just a quick note, if I may, one of our goals is, after this first year of the exhibit being open, what we'd like to do is then use that and the funding awarded by the Greenway and so on to allow us to seek out phase 2 funding, which will provide what we need to revise or redesign the exhibit so that we can take it on the road and take this, take this idea of sanctuary out to the broader community. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you. The next one is for Untermeyer Gardens Conservancy for interpretive signage intended to describe and interpret the important history and design of Untermeyer Gardens. They requested $5,000, and that is what the committee is recommending. And Kathy Mickelson, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and I'm
pleased to be here today to represent the organization. Untermeyer Gardens sits on 43 acres in the city of Yonkers along the Old Croton Aqueduct Trail, and it is a city park. The Conservancy was founded 7 years ago to help restore the lost beauty of the gardens, which had endured decades of neglect. And today, the success of the Conservancy's efforts is apparent to all visitors. We had 70,000 visitors last year, but the history of the gardens is an untold story. And Samuel Untermeyer was a legendary lawyer. At the turn of the century, he died in 1940. He left his property ultimately to the city of Yonkers. When he was alive, he was a great reformer. He campaigned for women's suffrage, and he was one of the first voices against Nazism and one of the most vocal opponents of it in the United States. This grant is for interpretive signage, and so we would like to tell the story of some of the historical aspects and also explore the multicultural design of the gardens. And at the moment, if you were to visit Untermeyer Gardens, you would find the finest Persian walled garden in the Western Hemisphere. But there is no signage of any kind to tell you what a Persian wall garden is and how it came to be in the city of Yonkers. So we're very grateful for the support, and we think that it will greatly enhance the visitor experience to add permanent signage.
Well, you've done a great job. That garden looks absolutely marvelous. Those of us who live down near there and can see what you've done, too bad the house is no longer there, but the garden is great.
Thank you.
And the last grant is for the National Washington Rochambeau Revolutionary Route Association, say that 10 times fast, for research mapping, a website, and a symposium on the 1781 and 1782 Hudson River crossings, which they will try to tie into our water trail. They requested $8,250, and the committee is recommending $5,000, and I'm hoping the colonel is standing because he wants to talk about this. Thank you. Now, we know Barney has to recuse on Boscobel and Palisades Park Conservancy. Is there anyone else who has to recuse on any of these?
Yes.
Betsy, obviously, for Thomas Cole.
And from Boscobel.
Meg Downey for Boscobel. Anyone else?
All right, now, I'd like to have a motion and a second for this extraordinary, and you've done a great job on it. It covers the river, and that's what you've set out to do, and I think you've succeeded admirably. May I have a motion? Yes, that's Scott. And a second? All those in favor, please. Okay.
Apparently, Whit's ready to leave.
All right, okay. Rick, would you lead us in approval?
Prayer?
Yes. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? And a great job, Scott. Really.
To the staff, too. They review all. Shannon, Cody, Beth, Dan, all review all of these, and they do a really good job of helping set this up for the committee to look at. We were going to ask Beth to talk about the ramble, but given that she has laryngitis, we're not going to do that. So we have the 2017 Ramble stats to report back. We had 92,000 participants at 239 events and 150 partner organizations. We had 1,840 volunteers, putting in $15,917, which is an approximate value of $465,000 just in their volunteer time. So kudos to the people of the Hudson Valley, and I'm not even slightly surprised.
You're being flagged here.
And the pictures that have been flashing on the screen, you should have just spoke up. The pictures that have been flashing on the screen are from this year's Ramble. So they're nice. We have a new photographer, Susie Altman. She did a fabulous job. She has yet to bill us, which is... Are those drones? No, those are drone shots. Yeah. Of a sunset paddle at the Saugerties Lighthouse, which is the background on the train app. So the 2018 Ramble dates are September 1st, 2nd, 8th, 9th, 15th, 16th, 22nd, 23rd, and 29th, and 30th. Yes, we will have a board meeting, so everybody can report on what they've done on their Ramble. Next item, success files on PBS. The Hudson River Valley National Heritage Area is going to be featured on the show Success Files with Rob Lowe. The show is an education-based short-form documentary that explores the latest topics and trends in the world. It's about 5 minutes. It runs in that gap between the end of a regular show and the beginning of the next show when they're not actually holding a fundraiser. As I said, it's hosted by Rob Lowe. It will feature interviews of various Heritage Site partners, including Betsy and Wint, and Jennifer, and Jim. And it will focus on the Revolutionary War, the Hudson River School of Painters, and landscapes and gardens. 5-minute show will air for a year and will reach about 60 million households. We will also receive a 1-minute commercial video suitable for advertising, which will be framed around the Ramble. And we will receive a 5 to 6 minute custom documentary, which will be offered to their 1 million subscribers on the Success Files program. And these are the people that they and we will identify as most likely to come visit. So these are the people that we think will come and spend money. So that has all happened since our last board meeting. That's all come together. And hopefully by our next meeting, the filming should be done. We are working on a Dutch Heritage Cooperative with the Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. Staff at the Dutch Consulate, Conservancy members Stefan Yerebeck and Allison Junkerth, a graduate student at NYU. We've created a webpage on our National Heritage Area website for Dutch Heritage. We are allowing event submitters to our website to select a Dutch theme for their event and to be listed on a dedicated events calendar. And we are also creating an American Indian, which is apparently the new preferred term, not Native American anymore, to refer to our Native peoples. We're going to create an American Indian and Dutch Heritage map guide to fill out our brochure rack. It'll be similar to the others in our series, and we've received a first draft of the database from Allison, and Stefan and I have reviewed it, and we're waiting on the second draft. Henry Knox Cannon Trail update.
Oh, yeah, we've got Henry Knox right sitting over there. James?
Scott knows more than I know.
But some people don't know who we're talking about. Who was he?
Sir, he was the father of American field artillery. So this 26-year-old Boston Wilson read enough about artillery to become the guy who guides the artillery development in the continental army. He will go all the way to Fort Ticonderoga. We'll hook up first boats and then a sledge drawn by horses and oxen and drag 59 artillery pieces and mortars, some of which came
And he survived as General Knox through the Revolution, and then became our first Secretary of War. And it is extraordinary. This bookseller from Boston taught himself, because the British didn't want us to have any artillery. He taught himself how to be an artilleryman, right, James?
The other thing that we, I think, are claiming here in New York is one of the first heritage schools. This was done for the 150th anniversary of the American Revolution by New York and Massachusetts that linked these two states along this trail with these granite obelisks with bronze bas-relief on them. And so that goes all the way from now Crown Point all the way to Cambridge, and then even further to get up on the ridge and the Oval Ridge. So I think we're part of really heritage here with our trail, continuing to support New York's effort from 1925 to 1927.
Barney, General Knox was built along the lines of a mortar. He was said to have been wider than he was tall. Don't know what he looked like on a horse, but maybe that's why he was in the artillery.
I've never seen a picture of him on a horse. I don't think he was over 300 pounds, right? Apparently.
And also Washington weighed every one of his generals before. I think he topped out the scales.
New York State, by 1927, had placed 30 stones along this route. Most of them are still standing. Last year, we added one at Crown Point, and we replaced the one that was taken up and put in storage during the Interstate 787 construction in Albany and was subsequently lost. We replaced that in the fall, and sometime this spring, we will be putting the twin to that panel back there up next to it. So if you want to read about it a little more, there's the panel.
And it crosses over to Vermont, where?
To Massachusetts.
Not to Massachusetts, where?
I'm going to say Hillsdale? Yeah.
So
Okay.
it goes.
And I presume we're still getting some interest from the Champlain for some of those.
Yes. Tom Hughes, former site manager at Washington's headquarters, retired site manager from Crown Point, is working with the new site manager at Crown Point to get a panel installed there.
He's been a key historian and he moved up to, where does he live now?
Crown Point.
In Crown Point. And has worked on this trail, which Jim Johnson and others think is a really important. Winnie, you would agree with that, right?
Yes, very important. And Hughes was a very good man in Boston when he moved north.
Yes.
Now what do we have left?
We have two last items. The National Heritage Area Federal Fiscal Year Budget for 2018. We were in the budget for $491,000 this year. Oddly enough, National Heritage Areas across the country saw a slight bump in the appropriation for the first time in forever. These funds were by agreement with all of the National Heritage Areas dedicated towards those who are funded at $150,000 and $300,000. Eventual goal is to have everybody at $500,000 across the board. So if this happens at some point in the future, we'll see a big $9,000 increase. But we are still here. We're still operating. The National Heritage Area Management Committee will meet after this meeting, and we will discuss a work plan for the coming year. Many of you, I hope, saw Stefan asked us to hand out this Czech Historic Gardens Special Centennial Tour. The flyers are out at the registration table if you're interested. It's a 10-day tour to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the birth of Czechoslovakia in 1918. Executive Director's Report. I want to sing the praises of the staff. We've been working for several years to try to get the state to upgrade our Greenway website, which is not mobile responsive. The company that provided it for us went out of business. Some of the pages no longer let us update them, which is an issue when the governor's office says you need to update this page. So we finally got on board, and we're meeting with ITS to get this done. And Dan and I went to a meeting, and they said, you have 75 pages and 200 PDFs. Can you, by next week, tell us which of those you'd like to keep, which of those you'd like to get rid of, which of those you are required to have, and organize the whole thing into menus. What they didn't tell us is they didn't expect us to meet this deadline. But our staff did. And instead of being able to launch that website in September, they now think we'll be able to launch it in June. So nice job, guys. And lastly, Cody, stand up. Cody Arana is our new Greenway intern. He for working on the Ramble, our event, what is his title? Assistant Event Coordinator. And he has hit the ground running, and I'd like to ask all of the staff to stand up, please, and be recognized. New business, public comment, anybody have anything to say, or are you ready to go home? Yeah, sure.
I just want to follow up on an announcement that I had made in the fall. There were 2 communities in the Hudson Valley that had received the Downtown Revitalization Initiative funding. It was the city of Hudson as well as the city of Kingston. The planning has been concluded for those 2 cities. The state is now at a point where we are reviewing projects that were proposed for that funding. They received about $9.7 million to advance projects. The plans include about $15 million worth of projects, so we're now evaluating those projects to determine which the governor's office would like to advance. So we expect those announcements to be out about a month. So thereabouts, I'll follow up at after those announcements have been made, I'll let you know what projects are out.
Thank you. What everybody agrees on with the tankers is that, including the pilots, especially the pilots, the pilots, in order to become a pilot, you have to take a blank piece of paper and draw a map of the Hudson River. And if you screw up on it in any one spot, you fail. You also have to take a written test. If you miss one question, you fail. If they have an accident, their career's over. So everybody on the committee agrees safety is the most important thing. So we're going to talk about the lighting, but if it's a safety issue, I don't know. Right. But if they run aground and start leaking, that's a much bigger problem. So we're going to work with them. What we found from the industry side so far is their concern is for safety. John Lipscomb from Riverkeeper is representing the environmental communities, and he is the single biggest advocate for their being able to operate safely. Everything else comes after that. But we're going to talk. He's also the biggest advocate for we don't need 43 anchorages.
Scott, if I could just add to that quickly, I think it's also important to note there are many types of steps that can be taken to create a safe environment that do not necessarily require new anchorages. So the discussion about this is I think, Scott, looking at a broad set of options. It's not focused on anchorages as the only solution for safety.
Absolutely not. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. We're not looking at just anchorages, or as we call it now, the A word. 10,200 comments. It's the A word.
And we should also remember, as certainly I do, and I know Woody does, is that Scott is the water trail. And the water trail is Governor Pataki. And it's all worked out extremely well. It is one of our few projects that ever ended up under budget. A government project under budget? Can you believe it? Really? It did. And you did it, Scott. And
There was a
the
lot
water
of
trail, and the water trail is really an exciting, not only an event, but an accomplishment for the Greenway. So now let me see, what else do we have? This is it, isn't it?
I just have a quick announcement. On June 10th, Mohawk Consultations will be honoring John Lipscomb, Patrol Boat Captain and Vice President for Advocacy at Riverkeeper. This will be June 10th at Mohawk Mountain House to recognize his achievements on behalf of guardianship of the Hudson River. And what I will do is send the invitation to all of the board members and hope that you can join us there.
Any others?
Marty, I think we said it before, but it would be great if Scott could be the executive director, not the acting executive director. What can we do to move that along?
Call Andy. You've tried everything. And we really have. But it's not for any personal reason. It is, as I understand it, Scott, you know, this is procedurally, Kevin, you're in the same position. But anyway.
It's a process.
It's a process, and I'm gonna get it accomplished, I promise. Anyway. Anything else?
I will say one thing. We're having a lecture on the 9th of June at Paris by Dr. David Schuyler, who's looking at battle Hudson. It's going to be premiering, I guess, the second stop in Hudson. This is the environmental history of Hudson. David Schuyler, 9th of June. We'll put this out.
It's a great book. Should be our Bible.
Yeah.
Okay. And the Heritage Area Management Committee will be meeting at 12:30. Anyone who would like to stay is welcome. Sir, do you want to show pictures?
No. Thank you all very much. Safe travels. We appreciate you coming in the rain today to be with us. I look forward to seeing you on June the 6th. Okay. Take care. Have a good day, everyone. Meeting adjourned.
Take those.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.